Okay, so Mark.
Thank you so much. And everybody, I really appreciate the invitation, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've got a big debate tomorrow morning in front of the Port Angeles Business Association, and it's the first debate where there's response opportunities, not just a forum to answer questions. So I'm really looking forward to it. I thought I would take just a moment. I don't know an awful lot of you in here, so I thought I'd take just a moment and tell you a little bit about my background. I'm a lifelong student of politics. I wrote my first political paper when I was in 7th grade, and I eventually majored in politics and government at the University of Puget Sound.
Yay, loggers!
Woohoo! That's right. Graduated in 1993. Although this is the first elective office that I've run for, so it's really an exciting opportunity. Most of my career has been in nonprofit management and nonprofit fund development. I had about 12 years in Tacoma and Seattle where I did a variety of things. The highlights would have been serving as a director of planned giving for Virginia Mason Medical Center in Seattle. And I was one of the founding members of a group in Seattle called Social Venture Partners, which was a philanthropy organization that attempted to take some of the tenets of venture capitalism and apply it to grant making and philanthropy. And that was one of my, you may have heard or seen on some of my brochures that I talk about collaborative leadership. And that experience in Social Venture Partners was one of my first opportunities to experience the importance and the power of collaborative leadership. So if any of you would like to hear more about that, then at some point I'd be more than happy to tell you more. I'm currently the executive director of the Squim Food Bank, where I've been for about 2.5 years. And in between my two nonprofit careers, I was a small business owner. My wife, Lisa Bulware, over there, and I have owned 2 businesses since we moved to the peninsula, which was in early 2004. We moved here to grow plants, so we built a big greenhouse and started a wholesale plant business where we grew flowers and vegetable starts and all kinds of things. That eventually evolved into being a wholesale and retail business. And then that eventually evolved into the business that we were most well known for, which is a little grocery store in downtown Squim called the Red Rooster Grocery. We were open for about 5 years. Our focus was on helping to develop the local food economy. And I don't talk about this very often, but I'm going to talk about it a lot on the campaign trail because it's actually something that I'm pretty proud of. I'm the kind of person who likes to take action. I don't like to talk about things. I just like to find ways to make them happen. One of our priorities before we opened the grocery was to help highlight and elevate local food producers and local farmers. And in the 5 years that our business was open, we circulated hundreds of thousands of dollars into the local food economy just from our one little business. And that really opened my eyes to how powerful and how important our local economy is. So I bring a very diverse background and a lot of different experience to the position, and again, I'm so thrilled to be running. I've got just a couple priorities, but they're pretty important. And my #1 priority is finding ways for this county to live its values. There are values that are highlighted in our county charter that our county leaders are supposed to aspire to. And they are collaboration, don't laugh, accountability, cooperation, partnership with industry, and customer service. I don't see any of those values being enacted or even strived for, really, in our county government. So that's what motivates me to run. I am very dedicated toward building a more diverse and more vibrant local economy. I think that when we talk about economic development, the conversation is usually around what's the next big thing? What new industry can we pull here? How can we get all the mills running again? And we're always thinking about that one thing. And we ought to be thinking about the next big thing because it's important to keep your eye on that ball. But I think oftentimes that happens to the exclusion of the hundreds of small entrepreneurial business owners who already live in Clallam County, who already have jobs, who already employ other people, and who, with a little bit of support and a little bit of focus and a little bit of encouragement, are really going to be the backbone of our economy in the future. And so the kinds of things that I'm talking about when I say a focus on our local economy would be, if we take the food and farm world, for example. This is just one aspect of Clallam County's economy, but it's an important one. The Washington State University Extension Office here in Port Angeles actually has an economic development portion of their mission. If they were able, they don't have the funding to actually pursue that right now, but if they did, they would be providing coordination and support to the dozens of small farmers and food producers who populate the county. And we don't have to look any farther than our next door neighbors in Jefferson County to see how that might work. The Jefferson County Extension Office is well funded. They are able to carry out their economic development mission. And as a result, the Jefferson County farming community is extremely vibrant, it's growing, and it's a major component of that county's economy. No, it's not like our farmers are any worse. It's not like they don't produce as good a product, but they don't have that support and coordination. There are other aspects that are important to building our local economy too. For example, the subject of community health. How does that relate to the economy? Well, if you talk to any downtown business owners here in Port Angeles, or if you are one, what you know or what you will find out is that there's a lot of concern about homelessness and drug use and other elements of community health that really impact businesses and business owners. And that is in a lot of different ways, ranging from, boy, it's tough to have an attractive business when someone's locked in my bathroom doing who knows what, to, boy, Westport can't find people to hire because no one can pass a drug test. So we don't talk about these things very often in terms of our economy and in terms of economic development, but we need to think very broadly and hit it from all different levels. So that's my most significant priority. I'm also committed to finding ways to re-engage citizens and stakeholders in their governance. And it's not hard to do that here at the county level. We're not talking about getting involved in national politics. We're talking about Clallam County. I've had a lot of experience in building collaborative partnerships and collaborative relationships, and I have found that regardless of the subject, there are always going to be a diverse group of people who are interested in what's going on and who have a stake in the outcome. And I believe that your job as county commissioner is to actively find ways to reach out to individuals, community organizations, nonprofit groups, other governmental agencies, whoever the stakeholders are, bring them around the table and make sure that everyone who's around the table has a stake in the outcome. I think that's the best way to make decisions, and I think that's the best way to get things done and to make sure that they're done well. Finally, I think that it's very important to think about planning and strategic planning. And this is a phrase that you hear my opponent using quite regularly. And I don't believe that any planning has been done, at least not that I can see. Now, let's take an issue that's been in the newspaper the last couple of days, the marijuana zoning reform. Here's an industry that this county and all counties had 2 years to plan for. Well, gee, what's going to happen, when that passes? There are some counties that got right on the ball, worked with their citizens and other stakeholders to figure out what's the right zoning, where should those businesses go, what concerns do neighborhood groups and communities have, how do we balance those things so that when the law started and people started applying for businesses, maybe Clallam County could have been an attractive place to have a business like that and where it could fit in the proper zoning. But none of that happened, so we lost out on all that business. But not only that, there are a number of citizens, neighborhood groups who have had to spend thousands of dollars to defend their property rights. At the same time, there are a lot of small business owners who invested in their business, and because that planning wasn't done, they lost all that money as well. So that's just one example, but there are many where we need to be doing much more active planning. And the other example that I think is most important for our county's future is planning for the impacts of global climate change. For example, it's more likely than not that our future is going to be one where water is an increasingly scarce resource. We're expecting warmer winters, we're expecting less snowpack, so we ought to be planning for that eventuality. If it doesn't work out like that, we'll be better off. But if it does work out like that, we'll be prepared. So that brings me back around to where I started, which is the concept of values. When people ask me, well, what's the job of county commissioner? I describe it in two ways. One is county commissioners are in charge of the budget. And that means setting priorities. It means ensuring that there's sufficient revenue coming in for the necessary expenditures. But what it really means, at least to me, is finding ways to take those values that our citizens, our stakeholders, people who live in this county have determined are the requirements of leadership. Again, those are collaboration, accountability, cooperation, partnership with industry, and customer service. And it's not easy to take concepts and turn them into action on the ground. But that's what you need to do to be a good leader, and that's what the county is missing, and I believe that that's what I have to add and what I have to bring to the job. So I am thrilled to be here. We've got just a short time until the ballots come out in the middle of October. I want all of you to know that I'm going to continue doing everything I can to win. I did well in the primary. My Democratic opponent has already publicly endorsed me, and we've reached out to his supporters. I'm doing everything I can here in Port Angeles to meet people and to get out in front of folks that I haven't met before. There's a long series of debates and forums coming up over the next 6 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to those opportunities. We've got a very active social media outreach and a webpage, so we're doing everything we can to get the word out. Newspaper advertising should be starting this Wednesday and running through the rest of the campaign. Radio advertising should be starting next week. You'll get to see me on the back of a bus starting on Sunday. So I want all of you to know that I've got a great team in place. And by the way, thank you to my team for putting this fabulous dinner together. I really appreciate it. This is really, really special. And I'm happy to answer questions. I'll be walking around individually after we're done. So if you have something, something to ask, I'm thrilled to be here. And I see. All right, Tim. Yes, sir.
I heard. I didn't read, but I heard that Chapman has endorsed you. Is that right? And
yes.
That seems to me like a very. Maybe you have some comments about the fact that one of those incumbent commissioners has endorsed you.
Oh, well, I was humbled and thrilled. And I don't know Mike Chapman. In fact, we've only just met. His first direct experience with me was at a commissioner meeting where, well, I got up to say a few words. By the way, this meeting, if any of you aren't familiar with it, there's some video footage on our website, so if you'd like to hear Mike Chapman or hear my remarks, it's real easy to get on markozais.org and do it. But what Mike Chapman saw is, and what he recognized immediately is that I have the potential to provide the kind of leadership that's missing. And when we talk about collaboration, my opponent often likes to try and play that as, well, that's just more process, and we need to focus on getting things done. And the reality is that if you don't lead through collaboration, you're not going to get things done. And we can take anything that the county commission is working on right now and see that. So I was very appreciative for Mike Chapman's endorsement. It was really neat. I have another endorsement that I just found out about yesterday that I'm also real pleased about. The Jamestown Clallam tribe has the Clallam gyms, and I'm continuing to actively work on more. So thank you for the question. All right, well, I'm going to...
We want to give Mark a chance to eat, and he will be available for questions, but I wanted to remind you, if you look on that board over there, it says, what can you do to help Mark get elected? So I want to review the sign-in sheet in case some of you forgot to make check marks when you signed in. If you'd like a yard sign, just check it off here and we'll deliver it to you. The yard signs will be going out the end of September. We don't want to get into a yard sign war, but we will get yard signs out. And then it says send postcards. So what's that about? Well, we created some postcards that has Mark's picture on the front with a note as to what his website is, so you can go click and find out where he is on the issues. And on the back side, it simply says that you're endorsing Mark and you encourage friends and neighbors to do the same. And then you personalize it and send those out. So we'll provide you with as many of those postcards as you wish. Then it says you'd like to have a car signed. Okay, what's that? Okay, it's over here. We have printed up some vertical and horizontal Mark Ozais. And if you check that box, then we will send you an email and has a PDF, and you can print your whatever you want, vertical, horizontal, and put those in your car window. Then you can always donate money. Thank you. Many of you have already put money in the donation jar. And then post on Facebook. So if I'm not a Facebook player, but you guys probably are, there was a fascinating thing on TV last night that tracked that there is solid evidence now to show that the more Facebook exposure a candidate gets, the higher they are in the public polling process, and vice versa.
Bernie.
So, we have some of you who have been posting on Facebook. You can go onto the blog site. Mark's good about keeping that up. We're happy to send you things to put on your Facebook. So if you didn't check that and you have a Facebook, please come back and you can do that. You can host a mingle with Mark at your house. Invite your friends and neighbors. So let us know if you want to do that. And then, of course, one person checked this. You all should have been checking this last one. Talk to your friends about Mark. It's a name that people don't know, they haven't heard. There was at church, I'd asked somebody by email if they'd put a sign in their yard. I didn't hear back from them. And I went up to him yesterday and said, well, of course you can put a sign. I went on Mark's website. Yeah, he's the kind of guy I want to have a sign for. So encourage people to go use Mark's website to find out what he stands for. And there's all kinds of ways you can help with the campaign. So on your way out, if you forgot to check some of these boxes, please revisit the list. And thank you all for coming. And Mark, thank you very much for your comments, and we'll give you a few minutes to eat. And just the sidebar piece, to know that local product, that all of this stuff was grown in the backyard, and the beef actually was even raised in our backyard. So you
Thank you all again. I can't tell you how much it means to me to have such a good turnout tonight. I really appreciate your support. As I said right at the beginning, this is the first elective office that I've run for or ever even considered running for, and it's very humbling to see how many people support me, and that really motivates me to work absolutely as hard as I can to get elected. So I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Capitalism and apply it to grant making and philanthropy. And that was one of my, you may have heard or seen on some of my brochures that I talk about collaborative leadership. And that experience in Social Venture Partners was one of my first opportunities to experience the importance and the power of collaborative leadership. So if any of you would like to hear more about that, then at some point I'd be more than happy to tell you more. I'm currently the executive director of the Swim Food Bank, where I've been for about 2.5 years. And in between my two nonprofit careers, I was a small business owner. My wife, Lisa Bulware, over there, and I have owned 2 businesses since we moved to the peninsula, which was in early 2004. We moved here to grow plants, so we built a big greenhouse and started a wholesale plant business where we grew flowers and vegetable starts and all kinds of things. That eventually, most of my career has been in nonprofit management and nonprofit fund development. I had about 12 years in Tacoma and Seattle where I did a variety of things. The highlights would have been serving as a director of planned giving for Virginia Mason Medical Center in Seattle. And I was one of the founding members of a group in Seattle called Social Venture Partners, which was a philanthropy organization that attempted to take some of the tenets of venture. I don't know an awful lot of you in here, so I thought I'd take just a moment and tell you a little bit about my background. I'm a lifelong student of politics. I wrote my first political paper when I was in 7th grade, and I eventually majored in politics and government at the University of Puget Sound. Graduated. Woohoo! That's right. Graduated in 1993. Although this is the first elective office that I've run for, so it's really an exciting opportunity.
Okay, so Mark.
Thank you so much. And everybody, I really appreciate the invitation, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've got a big debate tomorrow morning in front of the Port Angeles Business Association, and it's the first debate where there's response opportunities, not just a forum to answer questions. So I'm really looking forward to it. I thought I would take just a moment.